Shares of Palantir sliding after hours after reporting first quarter earnings, despite the company beating on the top line and raising its full year guidance. For more, we're bringing in now Rishi Jaluria, software equity analyst at RBC Capital Markets. Rishi, it is always great to have you on the show. So let's walk through this, Rishi. So Palantir reports they beat sales estimates, it looks like, for Q1, Rishi. They raised their forecast for annual revenue. Initial pop, but now we're down here about 9% in the after hours. What is going on here, Rishi? Give me your take.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, thanks so much for having me. Always a pleasure to speak to you. I would say it's a combination of a couple things, right? It's high expectations because this has become a hyped, or in my opinion, overhyped generative AI, beneficiary company. And we can get into that in a second. You saw the stock was up 8% on the day today heading into earnings. And then, they put up results that are a beat and raise, but I think that was priced into the stock. And then at the same time, you see U.S. commercial decelerating pretty big. Last quarter, they put up 70% U.S. commercial growth. Now they're growing U.S. commercial 40%. I think it's a combination of those as well as some other things that's leading the stock down about 9% in the aftermarket.
Well, Rishi, it's Julie here. Why is that commercial growth slowing? Is it just a matter of that they couldn't keep up that same pace? Or is there some issue with execution? Or is it end market demand? What's going on?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, right? Number one is the compare itself just gets a little tougher. I think that 70% commercial number that they posted last quarter was maybe boosted by just a very, very easy compare and some one-time impacts. And so that's piece number one. I think piece number two, and we'll see how this plays out over the coming quarters, but when we talk to actual technologists who are deep into AI, deep into ML, who know more about this topic than I could ever hope to over my life, they are expressing skepticism around Palantir and especially around AIP and whether they are what they say they are from an AI perspective. And maybe there's a little bit of that showing up in the U.S. commercial numbers and why we're seeing that slowdown as well.
What about, Rishi, this company's boot camps where they get customers, kind of up and running fast with their AI software? Smart strategy, in your opinion?
I think it is, but look, I would again put a little bit of skepticism around that bootcamp strategy. I think number one, remember, Palantir is very heavy customized software, right? I estimated more than 30% of their business is actually professional services and outsourced data science rather than actual true software. So I don't know that it's even the right fit for something like a bootcamp. And even then, if we really think about bootcamp customers, these are people who say, okay, come and figure out some of my problems and give me a use case. But it doesn't go from there to a customer becoming a multi-million-dollar Palantir customer overnight, which is how they make it sound on earnings calls. But in reality, a lot of times, those bootcamp customers might do multiple boot camps, or they might turn into a pilot customer over time. It's not nearly the game changer to go to market that I think they claim it to be.
Rishi, so obviously you're not a fan. You've got an underperform on the shares here. We see it coming back to earth today, but the market has not been on your side thus far this year. The stock has rallied. There definitely are a lot of Palantir buyers out there. Where do you think this sort of disconnect lies between that perception of Palantir as an AI winner and what you're saying, which is that in truth, it might not be?
Yeah, I think it comes down to that perception around exactly what is Palantir and exactly what is AIP, because there is no way the valuation of Palantir stock at 25 times forward revenue is supported by 20% growth and the margins that they're putting up. That's just not possible if you compare it to what other things in software are trading. What I think it comes down to is Palantir messages that they are this cutting edge generative AI company. They message a lot around AIP and boot camps, and I think very deliberately target retail investors. And look, everyone wants to play the AI game. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge believer in AI and especially generative AI's technology. I think it is going to change society as we know it. I just don't think Palantir is that cutting edge generative AI company that they claim it to be. I think it is a good data pipeline. It is a good data ontology company. I'm not saying it's not a useful company, but it is not what they claim it is. And I would say to any investor that really wants to play this AI trend, go buy Microsoft. They are doing a lot more when it comes to generative AI. Plus, they have that very deep partnership with OpenAI, which to me is one of the most important companies in the world today. I think Microsoft is a much better way to play the AI wave than Palantir.
And Palantir, Rishi, we're talking AI, their commercial business, but of course, the company's roots are in government sales. I'm just interested for that business segment, Rishi. Looking ahead, what do you see? Puts and takes. Any tailwinds that you see ahead?
I think there's really some interesting puts and takes here, right? Because what we've picked up in our checks and our conversations is that government agencies are actually looking to reduce their dependency on Palantir and maybe multi-source and use multiple vendors, which is, what we saw in the UK with the NHS deal, where they actually ended up using a number of different vendors instead of Palantir, and the deal ended up being a lot smaller for Palantir than expected. And so I think there actually could be a little bit of mixed results in the government business over the next couple of years as a result of this. I will also say, the government business is probably the stickier, better quality business for Palantir, but it's not a high growth business. And I think that's why they don't emphasize it nearly as much as they do the US commercial business.
Rishi, we'll get you chatting here on this. Another name in your coverage universe I know is Salesforce, CRM, reporting in a few weeks, I think, Rishi. Obviously, a lot of headlines there about M&A. Maybe it was happening, then it wasn't. What are you expecting to hear from Mark Benioff, Rishi?
Yeah, look, I don't expect that they're going to comment on the Informatica buyout rumors. I will say I'm actually breathing a sigh of relief as a Salesforce bull that the Informatica deal isn't going through, because I think there are better things they can do with that money, including buying back their own stock or juicing up the dividend. What I expect out of Mark Benioff and out of Salesforce's results is I think they're going to talk a lot about Data Cloud and some of the success they're having at the data layer, which is a new muscle for Salesforce. But we've been really impressed with the numbers and momentum that we've seen out of Data Cloud, and look for kind of more color around that, more color around how their efforts to integrate their multiple clouds, including Marketing Cloud and Commerce Cloud, onto the same core platform are going, as well as just how we can see the future margin trajectory going from here. We've seen some very impressive margin expansion coming from Salesforce over the past year and a half. I think there's still a long way to go on margins to get them in line with best-in-class software companies like Microsoft and Adobe. And so I think there's a lot that investors can be excited about with Salesforce, and looking forward to hearing a lot of that color on that earnings call.
Well, Rishi, maybe we'll have the chance to catch up again when they report the numbers. Thanks so much for your perspective here. Really helpful.